On next.
This is the Sun America NBC pregame show. The 1998 American League Championship Series. Tonight, it's Game 1. The Cleveland Indians versus the New York Yankees.
A beautiful October night for baseball in the Bronx. Game time temperature in the low 60s as David Wells goes to the mound for the Yankees. 18-4 for the year, a year that included a perfect game, and now 8 strong innings in a first-game win over Texas in the division series. He's opposed by 22-year-old Jarrett Wright, 12-10 for the year, hit hard by Boston in Game 1 of the division series for Cleveland, but he does own a 4-1 lifetime record against the Yankees, 2-1 this year, and 2 victories against them last year in the division series when Cleveland prevailed in 5. Hi and welcome to the American League Championship Series, everybody. Bob Costas along with Joe Morgan. Apart from Jarrett Wright's career record against the Yankees, all the numbers favor New York. They beat Cleveland 7 out of 11 times head-to-head this year, and in every other possible relevant category, with the bats and pitching, the edge belongs to New York. So the question then becomes, Joe, how does Cleveland pull it off and get themselves back to the World Series for the 3rd time in 4 years?
Well, first, they have a good chance, Bob, simply because it is a short series, and they only have to win 1 game more than the Yankees do. Second, they are not intimidated by the Yankees, and especially their starting pitcher tonight, Jarrett Wright. He has proven that he can beat the Yankees, so they'll have to follow his suit. But being intimidated is not going to be the only problem they have. They'll also have to score some runs. And to do that, I think they're going to have to be more aggressive than before on the bases and especially at bat, because David Wells will throw strikes, and they're going to have to swing the bats and score some runs.
So that's the formula for beating the Yankees. But putting that formula into practice is an altogether different matter. Just ask the Texas Rangers, who managed just 1 run in losing 3 straight to New York in round 1. We'll hear from the managers when we come back.
Keith Olbermann back at Yankee Stadium before Game 1 of the American League Championship Series with Indians manager Mike Hargrove. You are the underdog by general consensus here. Do you feel like one?
No. I guess I should. That's what I've been reading for the last couple of days and hearing from everybody. But, you know, Keith, we understand that the Yankees won 114 ball games in the regular season, and I think that by any standard they should be considered a favorite in any situation. But we feel good about our chances. I feel good about our ball club. We come out to play, and we play hard.
Mike, is there bad blood between the 2 teams, specifically between the Yankees and your starting pitcher tonight, Jarrett Wright?
I don't think so. You really have to ask the Yankees that. I mean, we've been hearing a lot of it the last couple of days, and you know, from an incident back in spring training, and it's not the first I've heard of it, but I don't think it's to the degree that a lot of people would like to make it. These are 2 good ball clubs in a unique situation, and we're here to play baseball.
Mike, thanks very much. Let's find out what the feeling is on that matter in the Yankee dugout. Let's go over to Jim Gray. Jim?
All right, thank you, Keith. Well, Mike Hargrove just said, Joe Torre, that he's not sure if there's any bad blood between the Indians and the Yankees over Jarrett Wright. Is there on the Yankee side?
I don't think so, Jimmy. Well, you know, Jarrett hit Soho in spring training. We played a number of games since then, and I haven't sensed anything. I was over there on the All-Star bench with Mike Hargrove, and we have a nice relationship. I think it's competition, and sometimes competition gets a little nasty. It's back in the old days, it was war, and I think when you get to this and so close to the World Series, you get that feeling again.
Joe, best of luck tonight.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right, let's send it upstairs to you, Bob.
Jim, Joe, thanks very much. The competition starts for real in just a few moments. Jarrett Wright and the Indians versus David Wells and the Yankees. Back to check the rest of the lineups, and we'll have the first pitch next.
Is the Sun America NBC.
Moments ago, Sharice Strawberry, the wife of Darryl Strawberry, accompanied by their 2 children, and David Cohn, a teammate of Darryl's, both with the Mets and the Yankees, throws out the first ball prior to Game 1. Darryl is resting comfortably at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital after surgery this past weekend. It was termed successful surgery to remove a malignant tumor from his colon, and doctors say they're very optimistic about a full recovery. Here's the Indians lineup put together by Mike Hargrove to face David Wells. Kenny Lofton, after a year's exile in Atlanta, is back and had another good year for the Cleveland Indians. Joey Cora just over from the Seattle Mariners. Is at second base, batting second. You see the rest of their lineup, mostly familiar names. The rookie Sexton plays first base, and Tomey, who has played first most of the year, is the DH tonight. There are a few hotter hitters in baseball than Manny Ramirez, who ended the regular season on a tear, then clubbed a couple more homers in the division series win against the Red Sox.
And there's David Wells. We all know he pitched a perfect game this year, but he's been almost perfect in his postseason performances. And the key to his success tonight will be his curveball. That's what he's been getting over anytime he wants. And anytime he gets that curveball over to go with his fastball and changeup, he's going to be successful and keep his hit count down. And let's take a look at the defense. This is a pretty good defense. You know, Chuck Knobloch made a few errors at second base, and so did Scott Brocious. But Brocious covers a lot of ground normally, but he's got a sore ankle, so we don't know how his range is going to be tonight. And Knobloch's problems mainly have been of the throwing variety.
The young outfielder Ricky Leday has been added to the Yankee roster to take the space vacated by Darryl Strawberry. And now Lofton to the plate to start it. He hit .282 this year. First time in 6 seasons he's been under 300.
And Bob, this first at bat is going to be pivotal because I think Lofton is the one guy that can set the tone for the Indians, and he has been a big game performer. He likes this big stage.
He stole 54 this year. Double his stolen base total from a year ago with the Braves. Cuts and misses at the first one.
Good fastball. That's the David Wells fastball up in the strike zone.
And Wells gets ahead 0-2.
I like the fact that Lofton came out and was aggressive because David Wells is going to throw strikes, and it doesn't do you any good to get behind 0-2 as he is now, but at least he was aggressive.
Got him on 3 pitches. Lofton disagreeing with plate ump Jim Evans.
This looks like a cut fastball. He had thrown in 2 straight fastballs, and this one is the cutter. Yeah, you can see a little cut fastball right on the outside corner. And Kenny Lofton thought it was off the plate outside, but Jim Evans says strike 3.
Now the switch hitting Joey Cora. 276 for the year, but just 229 with Cleveland.
But he has had some success against David Wells, and that's the reason that he's in there tonight.
The 0-1 pitch. He hasn't missed yet. 5 straight strikes.
And there you see what Wells has done for Cora against Wells, and also hit very well against Pettit.
The 0-2 pitch. Breaking ball down and in. Wells pitched 5 shutouts this year, including his perfect game in May against the Twins. Then he threw 8 shutout innings against Texas in Game 1 of the division series before handing the ball over to Rivera to finish it. That's out of play. In those 8 innings against Texas, Wells walked only 1, which is typical. He averages barely over 1 walk per 9 innings of pitching, the best control among all starters in the American League. Just missed. Full count to Cora. Justice on deck. Fouled away. There's a lot of talk around Cleveland about the possibility of Sandy Alomar Jr.'s brother, Roberto Alomar, coming over to be their second baseman next year. Roberto is a free agent and probably on his way out of Baltimore. For now, it's Cora. Another 3-2 pitch. Up high, and he walks it.
And that's one thing they will have to do is lay off the high fastball, and Cora laid off the 2-2 high fastball, and that one as well.
Number 23, David Wilson.
Al Bumbry is the coach at first. Jeff Newman is the Indians coach at third. We mentioned Evans back of the plate. Ted Hendry is at first. John Shulock at second. Larry Young at third. Tim Welke has the left field line, and Jim McKean calls the plays down the right field line. One out, one on, and the pitch to Justice. A bouncing ball to Knobloch. There's one to Jeter. On to first. They're out of the inning. You see a full moon like that over New York, you have to expect to see Jackie Gleason's face on it. Beautiful October night at Yankee Stadium. No score as we move to the bottom half of the first. Here's the lineup Jarrett Wright will face. And what more can be said about Shane Spencer? This is what he did against Texas, and he didn't even play in the first game. For those of you who haven't been following baseball until this point, Spencer is a 26-year-old rookie who spent 8 years in the minors. There he is, was called up and sent back down 4 different times this year between Columbus and New York, and suddenly bursts on the scene in September, and no one has figured out yet how to get him out. Here's Knobloch. Takes a ball from Jarrett Wright.
Well, Jarrett Wright's best pitch is his fastball, and unlike Wells, his second pitch is not nearly as important. He has to have that first pitch, that fastball that moves in on the right-handers and away from the left-handers.
2-0. Knobloch is 7 for 16 lifetime. That's .438 against Wright, with 4 walks tossed in.
You could see Sandy Alomar Jr. immediately jump up and tell him to stay back and settle down.
Called strike.
Wright also throws a slider. He's been working on a curve and a change, but his fastball and the movement on his fastball is his key. And he's going to have to try to stay away from these left-handed Yankee hitters.
2-1 pitch, chopped toward first, foul ball.
And let's take a look at the defense behind Jarrett Wright. They have a Gold Glove winner at shortstop. I mean, look at that. No errors in 40 postseason games. He is a wonderful shortstop, and you'll get a chance to see a guy play shortstop. A lot of people say compare him to the great Ozzie Smith. In fact, Mike Hargrove said he's better than Ozzie Smith. I'm not going that far yet.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. A line drive toward right center field that falls for a hit. The top of the Yankee order, Knobloch and Jeter very quiet against Texas. In fact, they combined 1 for 20, but Knobloch starts this series with a single to right.
And this is more like Chuck Knobloch from Minnesota. See, this pitch is up and in. He just kind of fights it off to right field. You see, the target was away, but he got the ball over the middle of the plate and in, and he just fought it off to right field. That's Chuck Knobloch at his best. And that pitch was up a little bit is the reason he was able to hit a line drive. And Chuck Knobloch, one of the better base stealers in the past few years, so he'll be trying to get a good jump. Wright doesn't have a great move and a quick delivery.
Knobloch stole 31 this year. And a strike to Jeter. Wright, last year's postseason hero as a rookie, was 12-10, and this is his second year in the majors. In fact, his first full year. And his ERA was 4.72. Foul back 0-2. He beat Andy Pettitte twice last year in the division series. Game 2 and the clincher in Game 5 as Cleveland beat the Yanks and eventually moved on to the World Series. Wright, as you may recall, got the ball in Game 7 against the Marlins and pitched very well through 7 innings. No decision for him, and eventually the Indians lost a heartbreaker in extra innings in Game 7 and still haven't won a World Series since 1948. High 1-2.
One of the reasons that it's easy to get a good jump off of a guy like Jared Wright is all power pitchers have to gather their momentum and get behind the fastball. So it takes them a little longer to deliver the ball to the plate.
Not going. Line drive. 5 is scaled for a base hit. Knobloch had to wait. He'll stop at second.
Watch what Jared Wright does here. He changes his delivery. He shortens his stride, and he doesn't get as much on the pitch, even though it was supposed to be inside, and he didn't get the job done. I think he was more, watch, he shortens his stride right there. He's more concerned with Knobloch, and he's not able to put Derek Jeter away. You see a lot of pitchers use that slide step, and it does take a little bit away from your fastball.
Mike Hargrove in his 8th year as the Indians manager. Only Tom Kelly, 13 years in Minnesota, and Bobby Cox, 9 with the Braves, have been with their present teams longer. O'Neill. 0-1 to him. Yankees with back-to-back singles to open the first. 2 on, nobody out.
Good fastball there from Wright, but not really the spot you want to throw it to, O'Neill. In the middle of the plate and in, with the short porch being in right field here.
The 0-1. Fouled off. The ultra-consistent O'Neill hit .317 this year, 24 homers, 116 RBIs.
And there's the middle of the order. You look at that. The Yankee hitters have not produced either. We talked about Texas not producing, but neither did the Yankee hitters. The bottom of the order is where all their offense came from.
Except for O'Neill. Nothing wrong with 4 for 11 with a home run. In fact, it was the home run that gave them the lead in Game 3 in Texas as they swept. A ball and 2 strikes, but Bernie Williams hasn't hit at all. Going back to the '96 World Series against Atlanta, hasn't hit at all in the postseason. His first couple of series in '96 against Texas and Baltimore, he was on fire, but since then, slumping in postseason play, and Tino Martinez has never been a particularly productive hitter in the playoffs. The 1-2. And it holds there. Jared Wright was knocked around by the Red Sox in his division series start. Boston won that first game, but Cleveland rallied to win the next 3.
Well, Mo Vaughn hit a 3-run homer off of him in the first inning in a similar situation to this. The first 2 hitters were on, and he hit a 3-run home run.
Another 1-2 pitch. Outside.
Well, that tells you a lot about Jared Wright, and you can see the problems he's having here in the first inning. Sometimes it takes pitchers an inning or 2 to get into their rhythm.
Mark Wiley, their pitching coach, charting the pitches. And a full count to O'Neill. Wright is perhaps the least popular opponent in the Yankee clubhouse. He hit Luis Sojo with a pitch in a spring training game, and Sojo broke his left hand trying to get it up to protect his face. And he hit this batter, Paul O'Neill, with a pitch in June. There's Sojo. Wright claims it was unintentional. Hargrove says it's overblown. Torrey actually agrees with Hargrove, at least publicly. But many Yankees feel differently. The 3-2 pitch, the runners break, and a line drive to right for a base hit. Here comes Knobloch, waved home. On his way to third, Jeter, 1-0 New York.
Paul O'Neill gets himself into a hitter's count. He was behind in the count, took a couple of pitches off the plate. Now he gets a 3-2 fastball on the inside part of the plate, and that's where I said I don't think they should be pitching him anyway. He gets a fastball in, and he rips it to right field. And 1 run scores, and Jeter hustles around to third. They have runners at first and third now with no one out. Good hitting there by Paul O'Neill, one of the most underrated players in baseball today.
So this brings an early visit from the Indian pitching coach, Mark Wiley, as Bernie Williams steps in.
Well, I think Wright should have made this happen 2-2. He threw this fastball in on 3-2. Might have been off the plate, but Paul O'Neill looking for a fastball, something he could pull, and he ripped it to right field for a base hit. He is a fine hitter, and he may go the other way in this ball game too. He used the entire field.
Now Bernie Williams in a good spot to bust loose. 6 for his last 50 in the playoffs and World Series. Ball 1.
You have to throw the breaking ball if you're Jarrett Wright just to show them a different speed. But so far, he has not been able to get that pitch over the plate. So if you're a hitter, you just put it in the back of your mind and say, hey, he has one, but he can't get it over. I'm sitting on nothing but a fastball. So you have to get ahead in the count instead of pitching from behind in the count with the fastball.
The 1-0 pitch hit up the middle. Williams with an RBI. 4 straight singles. Jeter comes across. 2-0 New York. Bernie Williams, the American League batting champion at .339, with his first hit of this postseason, and this is 12th at bat.
Well, he misses with the breaking pitch, so all Bernie Williams is looking for is a fastball, and he is a good low fastball hitter. Low fastball out over the plate. He rips it right back through the middle for a base hit. He extends out and just drives it back through the middle. He actually cut down on his swing there. He had been trying to pull everything, but he went right with that pitch.
Tino Martinez takes a ball. He hit .281 and led the Yankees in the power categories of home runs and RBIs. In this season, when 34 major leaguers hit 30 or more home runs, the Yankees, baseball's best team, didn't have one of them. Their top home run hitter hit 28. But as a team, they hit 207. So well balanced. Martinez gets ahead on the count, 2-0. Look at that. Dangerous sticks almost everywhere. No one overpowering guy, but almost everyone can hurt you at one time or another. Martinez can afford to sit on one here. And a slow bouncer charging it is Cora. The flip to Vizquel and on to first, not in time. And the Yankees have runners at the corners with 1 out.
And a good base running play there by Bernie Williams. If he would have continued to move, Cora could have tagged him and then threw the first base. Bernie Williams stopped, so Cora had no choice but to take the runner at second base. Now watch right here. Now watch Bernie Williams is coming in the baseline. Cora wants to tag him, but he stops, and then he has to throw to Vizquel. No chance to get a double play. Now watch Bernie Williams.
Designated hitter.
He stays back and stays out of the double play. Smart base running.
So Williams sits down and begins to cheer for Tim Raines, the veteran who hit .290 this year in his 20th year in the major leagues. Ball 1 to the switch hitter, Chad O'Jay, who won 2 games last year in the World Series, but is out of the rotation right now, is warming up. The Indians don't really have an ace. Wright gets the ball for game 1. Nagy has been pitching well of late. He'll pitch game 2.
Well, if you're Mike Hargrove, you're just hoping that they can get out of this inning with no more than 1 more run scoring. because you know that you're going to have to score some runs, and he also knows that he has some bats on his ball club that can make up a 3-0 deficit. And then maybe Wright can get himself started, but you cannot give up 3 or 4 or 5 runs here in the first inning.
2 balls and a strike to Tim Raines. Thinking about Hargrove's pitching, Bartolo Colon, the hard-throwing right-hander, made the All-Star team, faltered in the season's second half. Dave Burba came over from Cincinnati in 1-15 and saved them out of the bullpen in Cleveland in the division series against the Red Sox. We mentioned O.J. in and out of the rotation. Dwight Gooden is scheduled to pitch Game 4 of the series in Cleveland. So they don't really have an ace. They have a number of guys who are capable of turning in a good ball game for them, but no one they can absolutely count on. The 2-1 pitch. In the seats, 2-2. The Yankees have the 2 switch-hitting veterans as their DHs, Tim Raines and Chili Davis. The reason Raines gets the start tonight is that Torrey feels he's a better high fastball hitter than Davis, and thus has a better chance of hitting Jarrett Wright. There's Chili.
I would probably agree with that, except Chili Davis usually makes good adjustments and doesn't swing at the high fastball.
Still 2-2. O'Neill is at third. Martinez is at first. 1 out and 2 runs home in the bottom of the first. 2-0 New York.
A lot of pitches in here in the first inning.
That's been the book on Wright. Try and make him go deep into counts. And obviously that's happened in this first inning. Full count.
See, when you go to 3 balls and 2 strikes on the Yankees, they make you pay for that. They will, hit and run continually in this situation. If you go 3-2, you should make things happen on the 2-2 pitch. And obviously wasn't trying to throw a ball, but you have to make sure that's the pitch that you make him put the ball in play on. And you see Sandy Alomar trying to decide. He wants to know from Mike Hargrove whether he's throwing through or not on a swing and a miss, or whether he's going to hold the ball or throw to third base. You have 3 or 4 different plays with a runner breaking and runners at first and third.
Shane Spencer is on deck. Martinez goes. Raines swings and misses. Alomar bluffs the throw. They concede the stolen base. Runners at second and third as Raines strikes out, and here comes Spencer.
Well, see, I don't like that for 2 reasons. One, you're already down, and you let another runner get into scoring position. I think if you come up and throw to second base, you put the pressure on the second baseman to return it, but you put some pressure on the guy at third as well. But I just don't see how you let a guy go down to second base in that situation.
Try this on for size. Only 2 players in the history of baseball have ever hit 10 or more home runs while getting fewer than 100 at-bats in a season. Shane Spencer is one, and the other is Ted Williams. One of those years in the early 50s cut short by military service during the Korean conflict for Ted. Wright works to him, and there's a strike. Against Cleveland this year, all of this in September, Spencer 8 for 11 with 3 home runs. Fastball high. That's dizzying. Ahead of both McGuire and Ruth, and for that matter, Maris, Sosa, and Aaron at this early stage.
And thousands of others.
And everybody else, I guess. It gets away from Alomar. Here comes O'Neill. And it's 3-0 New York. On to third goes Martinez.
Bob, and this ball bounces. It's a slider in the dirt. It appears that Alomar gets down on it, but somehow it finds its way between his legs. You can see it dropped to his knees, but the ball went right between his legs. Watch, he drops down, but the ball bounces right between his legs, and it gets away and a run scored. That's the other reason you just cannot let a guy run down to second base, especially a guy like Tino Martinez who doesn't run that well. You should be able to throw him out anytime on a hit and run.
Scored a wild pitch. And now Wright falls behind 3-1. Posada will be next if the inning is prolonged. And it is as Spencer walks. Four singles, a walk, and a wild pitch in this first inning.
Number 20.
Posada, who has split the catching duties with Joe Girardi. The young switch-hitting Posada is the better hitter, the more dangerous hitter. There's Joe. Terrific receiver, good bat handler, and a leader in the clubhouse. So a very valuable member of this team. This will be Wright's 34th pitch of a tough first inning. Still not out of the woods, far from it. Ball one. When the Yankees talk about Wright possibly being a headhunter, and I emphasize that's not a unanimous opinion, but some Yankees feel that way, then this stat is relevant. He hit 11 batters this year. But for perspective, David Cohn of the Yankees hit 15. Line drive, base hit. Posada comes through, and it's 4-0. Spencer to third as Martinez scores. The fifth single of the inning, and here comes Hargrove. Jarrett Wright, 4-1 lifetime against the Yanks before tonight.
I said Jarrett Wright's fastball was his most important pitch. Take a look here. High fastball for a base hit. Fastball in the middle of the plate, base hit. Low fastball, base hit. Fastball out over the plate. Breaking ball in the dirt for a run, and the last one comes on a fastball. So all 5 of the Yankee base hits have come on fastballs, and that's why his fastball is important to him. He's got to spot it and move it around a little bit more, and he wasn't able to do that tonight.
Jarrett wasn't right tonight.
I'm not laughing at that. His plight. I'm just laughing at your line there.
Driven from the mound after 2/3 of an inning in favor of Chad Ojai. Scott Brocious, the 9th man to bat in the Yankee first. Take strike one. Ojai was 5-4 with an ERA, as you see, of nearly 6. He had 3 different stints on the disabled list. When he's right, he can be tough. Took something off, and it's 0-2.
And this is one thing that you did not want to happen if you're the Cleveland Indians coming into Yankee Stadium, facing maybe the best team in baseball, and falling behind in the first inning. Because it's not that it hurts you so much, but it just adds to the Yankee mystique and gives them more confidence as they go along. I mean, they think they're invincible at this point, and someone's going to have to prove that they are not before you can make a dent into this division series.
RBI single in this inning. Later scored a run. 2 on, 2 out on the 0-2 pitch. Misses. Trying to put a finish to the New York first. But not so fast. It's Brocious with a base hit. That makes it 5-0.
Well, Bob, maybe they are invincible. I mean, you make a mistake and they make you pay for it. He got ahead of Brocious 0-2. Now watch this. He ends up throwing a hanging curveball, and Brocious rips it to left field. Look at that, a hanging breaking ball. So, I mean, you have to give the Yankees credit. They take advantage when you make a mistake. That's a high breaking ball. He hits it down the left field line for a base hit, and it's 5-0.
6 singles in the inning. And back to the top as they bat around for Knobloch, who began it all with a single to right. Strike one. So many ways to express the Yankees' excellence this year. During the regular season, they scored 965 runs and allowed the opposition 656. You figure it out. It's unheard of to outscore your opponents by an average of 2 runs per game. It's almost ridiculous. Hit towards short. Vizquel shovels it over to Cora, and finally they're out of it. Not before the Yankees score 5. And with Wells on the mound in their bullpen, that looks awfully big. Tonight's overhead shots are courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes, based in Pompano Beach, Florida. At the controls, Captain Dan Thomas from Endeavor, Wisconsin. Yankees sent 10 men to the plate in the bottom of the first. David Wells had time to go back to the clubhouse and crank up some of that AC/DC and Metallica that he favors on the boombox. These Yankees are a pretty subdued, very professional bunch. The most colorful character on the team by far is this guy, David Wells, who works to Ramirez in the second. Foul ball, strike one.
But, Bob, the most impressive thing to me is that their personalities are all different, but they all like each other. I mean, Wells, like you say, he can be himself, and they still like him. And the other players the same way. I mean, they are really a close-knit group of players, and he's set for 33 minutes. That's a long time. I hope he was upstairs.
The 0-1 to Manny. Wonder how long his pass list was for this game. From George Washington High School in Manhattan's Washington Heights. Made himself an MVP candidate with a late surge. It took him to 45 home runs and 145 RBIs.
You know, he's a very underrated hitter. I mean, he really makes adjustments well to how you get him out the previous time. And
still 0-2.
David Wells has a game plan. I mean, you want to stay in tight on Ramirez. He likes the ball out over the plate. But this guy really makes adjustments, and he'll look for the ball inside. You know, he's not Phi Beta Kappa when he's out there in right field or running the bases. He makes a lot of mistakes. But in the batter's box, I mean, he really knows what he's doing there. And he's one of my favorite hitters because I see him make adjustments, and people do not think he's making adjustments. They think he's lucky, but he is very good and very smart.
1-2. This is the 4th straight year David Wells has been in the postseason. Cincinnati in 95, Baltimore in 96, the last 2 years with the Yankees. And the 7th time overall, as he was with Toronto in the late 80s and early 90s. He has a 5-1 postseason record, including a complete game 6-1 victory in Game 3 of the division series at Cleveland a year ago. Hit hard and through the hole, a leadoff single for Ramirez.
Adjusting well to what Wells was doing. He busted him inside several times. Then he tried an off-speed breaking ball away. Let's take a look at the scouting report on David Wells, who his biggest strength is he throws strikes and he stays ahead of most hitters, but he has a good fastball and a good curveball. His curveball is the key, and he'll mix in an occasional change. Whenever he gets his curveball over, the hit count for the other team goes way down.
The third baseman, Travis Fryman, takes a ball, a four-time All-Star when he was with the Tigers. Replaced Matt Williams as their third baseman this year and put up good numbers.
Career high in home runs, and he had played in a home run friendly ballpark, Detroit.
Wells works 1-0. Center field, Bernie Williams started back, now comes tearing in and gets there.
That's what Wells does so well, Bob. Most left-handed pitchers are fastball tails away from the right-handed hitter, and watch how he jams Fryman with this pitch. Most left-handers automatically the ball moves away. This one does not move away. Look at that, right in on the hands. You can see him pull his arms in, trying to get to the pitch, and that's what makes him pop it up. Watch him drop the head of the bat when he goes after it, trying to pull it inside. See how low the barrel was? That's why you hit the pop-up. And David Wells, going in tight, knows how he uses both sides of the plate.
Tomey is DHing tonight, with Richie Sexson at first base. Hargrove feeling that Sexson is a little bit of a better fielder at first.
And Tomey's spray chart will show that he pulls the ball more than anything else, but that's because when you face a left-handed pitcher, he's going to throw you a lot of breaking balls, so you're going to pull the ball.
Here's the 1-0. In there. Tomey had just 2 hits against the Red Sox in 15 at-bats, but both of them were home runs. Missed more than a month after he was hit on the hand by Wilson Alvarez in early August. Had to go on the DL with the broken hand. They tried Cecil Fielder for a while, but Fielder didn't have it. They cut him loose and brought Sexson up. Here's the 1-1. A broken bat roller. Martinez picks it up, goes to the bag himself, and that's the second out. On to second goes Ramirez.
Can't say enough about David Wells and his control. He threw him 2 curveballs for strike 1 and 1-1. Now here comes with a fastball right in. Look where it is, way in on his hands, and he just shatters the bat. I mean, this is David Wells at his best, changing speeds and moving the ball in on the hitters. And Tino Martinez doesn't even look at second base, which is the wise play. When you're ahead 5-0, you will trade bases for outs. You're not going to try to make the great play and throw the ball away and help them out. Make them earn their 5 runs to come back and catch you.
So now Richie Sexson. Ball 1 to him. Very productive for them, as you see, in limited duty.
Well, actually, he did so well. That's the reason Cecil Fielder didn't get a lot of at-bats to prove himself, and then they decided that they were going to go with Richie, and it seems like they made a wise choice if you're the Indians. And you can see the difference in David Wells pitching and Jarrett Wright. David Wells is using the corners. He's using, he's staying out of the middle of the plate. And he's very upset about that last pitch call.
Sandy Alomar on deck. Ramirez at second, 2 out. Top of the second, 5-0 New York.
Even when he gets behind 2-0 as he did there, he still doesn't come into the middle of the plate. That pitch is on the outside part of the plate. And that's how a guy can pitch a perfect game. That's how a guy can be, overpowering and dominate the hitters. Watch this, 2-0 fastball. Look where it is. He has to reach for it right out there on the outside corner. That's not a cripple pitch.
Bounce to Jeter. Comes up with it. Throws Sexton out. And down go the Indians in the second. No runs ahead. A man is left. Still 5-0 New York. Jeter, O'Neill, and Williams in the New York second against Chad O.J. in relief of Jarrett Wright, who was shelled from the mound after 2/3 of an inning. Jeter singled his first time up and does it again. As O'Neill heads for the plate, we head for Jim Gray, who a few moments ago visited with Cherise Strawberry.
All right, thank you, Bob. I'm here with Cherise Strawberry, the wife of Darryl. He threw out a very good first pitch. Everybody's wondering how's Darryl feeling 3 days after his surgery.
Doing good. A little bit tired, but and a little sore, but his spirits are good, and he's feeling good. Hungry. He's hungry.
Your daughter Jade holding on to the ball. When do you expect Darryl to go home? What if the doctor told him?
It should be around Saturday or Sunday. He should be able to go home. We're just waiting and letting him get as much rest as he can at home. I mean, at the hospital, so, yeah.
Chance he may come out to the ballpark should the team advance?
I would love it. I guess he would, too. Yes. Maybe.
Cherise, thank you. Give our best to Darryl.
All right.
We know you're watching out there. Feel better. Back upstairs to you, Bob.
Jim, thanks very much. 1-0, the count to Paul O'Neill, who singled home a run in the first. There goes Jeter. Pitch is taken for a strike, and Alomar won't even throw. An off-speed pitch. He had a good jump to begin with, and Alomar had no chance on the changeup.
Well, he got a great jump, and then he threw a changeup aside. You see he's already on the move, and then he throws a changeup. And so what happened is Sandy Alomar Jr. didn't come out of his crouch because he didn't want to lose the strike, by coming out too quick. So the only thing he could do was take the strike at the plate and let the runner go.
The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off. Last year in the division series, O'Neill hit a grand slam off O.J. in Game 3 at Jacobs Field. The Yankees won the game 6-1 behind David Wells. O.J. actually pitched brilliantly, 5+ innings in relief. The grand slam by O'Neill was the only hit he allowed, but it was the big hit in the game. The Yankees led 2-1 after that night, but they never won another, as Cleveland took games 4 and 5 and advanced. One-two pitch fouled off.
Paul O'Neill up trying to pull the ball to advance Jeter over to third with less than 2 outs. O.J. threw him a breaking ball, and he pulled it way foul.
Yankees playing small ball to build a big lead. 7 singles, 2 stolen bases, 5-0 in the second. Jeter in scoring position with nobody out.
Bob, you made a point earlier about how many runs they scored and how they scored 2 runs a game more than the opposition. To me, that really doesn't mean anything. The statistics of it is how they play the game is what makes them a great team. They play the game very well. They know how to play. And their hitters are all very intelligent hitters. And I was looking at a number today, like the average of their starting lineup, they have over 3,000 major league at-bats, which tells you that they've got experience, they know what they're doing in the batter's box, and they know how to get the pitchers into hitters' counts and get the hitters and pitchers in trouble. And that's what's important. Numbers are great, but how you play the game is what's important, because that's what holds up in a short series. Over the course of a long season, percentages will hold up. But in a short series, you have to play the game well and know what you're doing, and they know what they're doing.
The 1-2 pitch. Slow roller. Cora to his right has it. Did he pull him off the bag? No. Sexton stays on the bag, and O'Neill is out as Jeter moves on to third.
Well, it's another off-speed pitch, and O'Neill goes ahead and swings at it because he's going to pull it to the right side. Cora's had some problems defensively, and he throws this ball to the outfield side, but a good call by the umpire at first base, Ted Hendry, because he does stay on the bag. But O'Neill does his job. You see Jeter advancing over to third. Cora throws it to the outfield side, but Sexton stays on the bag and retires O'Neill.
Tall, rangy guy like Sexton, able to save Cora an error there. Another RBI chance for Williams with the infield in, and ball one.
Well, because Jeter runs well, you can't play halfway. You have to go ahead and play in if you're going to make a play at him at the plate. And when you're down 5-0, you cannot afford to give up any more runs. You have to try to cut off everything at the plate.
Two and 0. Tino Martinez on deck.
A lot of times when you look at a spray chart, people think, well, he hits more balls to right field. That means he's a pull hitter. No, you only call him a dead pull hitter if all the other two fields add up to less than what he does in his pull field.
Well hit, but foul.
And in the case of the spray chart we just saw, they did not add up to more than his pull field. So that means that he hits the ball all over, which is typical of Bernie Williams.
Williams steps out for a moment. O.J. nods yes at the sign. Jeter leading away from third, and the pitch. A chopper. Jeter breaks on contact. Sexton lets it roll, and it goes foul.
Smart play by Sexton. He knew that he could not get Jeter at the plate, so his only hope was that the ball would go foul. And watch, Sexton could come and get this ball. He could field it on this second hop right there if he wanted to, but he knows that he's not going to have a play at the plate and let this go foul. Heads up play there.
So the count levels at 2-2. O.J. could use the strikeout.
Or a one-hopper at someone.
A pop-up that looks like it's going to make the seats, and it does. Sandy Alomar Jr. with that creaky knee that will require arthroscopic surgery at the conclusion of the season. He's seen his numbers fall off considerably from his dream season of 1997. Played much of the season through clenched teeth. Another 2-2 pitch. Struck him out. So O.J. went upstairs and Williams couldn't catch up with it. And you can go in-depth on every game of baseball's postseason at MSNBCSports.com. Comprehensive total casts feature pitch-by-pitch updates and real-time box scores. Plus, there's incisive reporting by the Sporting News and live video coverage of the post-game press conferences. It's all at MSNBCSports.com. Now with 2 out, it's up to Martinez. Called strike. Tino grounded out his first time up. That's in the seats.
He has been very productive since he's been here in New York. Look at that, 117, 141, 123. It's actually the 4th straight year that he's driven in over 100 runs. But he's kind of just another player here. I mean, you know, he is not a superstar on this ball club. Tim Raine says we don't have any superstars, just a lot of good stars.
A line drive that is caught by the skidding David Justice. Well, he played only 20 games in the outfield this year because of his aching knee, but he assured Mike Hargrove he could go in the postseason, and he sparkled with the glove as well as the bat. If you ask Tino Martinez, this is an injustice.
Dave Justice gets a great jump on the ball. You could see him moving as the ball came off the bat, and he makes a sliding catch there. Look at that, just barely getting his glove under the ball. Just a nice play by Justice that saves the run. If you're the Cleveland Indians, you say, we're down 5-0. We have a long ways to go. And you say to yourself, we scored 5 runs a lot of times this year. And the key is they have a lot of power on this ball club, and that's how you're able to come back from a 5-run deficit by hitting an occasional home run.
Sandy Alomar fouls the first pitch of the 3rd inning into the seats.
The trouble is David Wells seems to have complete control of all of his pitches, which doesn't bode well for the Indians. But if you're on that Indians bench, you say, hey, we get 1 here, 1 there, and we're right back in the ball game. You don't try to get all 5 of them back at one time.
1-1. Try this on for size. Well, let's talk about this first. Sandy Alomar Jr. last year 324 with the 21 homers. This year, in almost as many at-bats, just 6 home runs and down to 235.
I think that's the telltale sign. You know, he had almost as many at-bats as he had the year before, and his numbers are down. Just not a good season for Alomar Jr.
A high fly ball into shallow right. O'Neill comes in. 1 out. Try this on for size. The Yankees have allowed 1 run in 29 innings this postseason. 1.
Number 13.
That doesn't bode well for Cleveland tonight.
No, but I really believe that Cleveland, as I said before, they're not intimidated by the Yankees, and they're not under the gun like saying, if we lose this game tonight, we lose this series. It's not a 3 out of 5 series, and they're opening in New York. They still have 3 games to play in their home ballpark. And if they could get out of here with a split, I mean, they would be happy. And that's obviously they're still not thinking about a split. They're thinking about coming back in this ball game. And they have so many good hitters on this ball club. I really do believe that they can come back. They can make a dent in David Wells if he staggers at all.
A liner by Vizquel. It's in there for a hit. Omar hit 288 this year. So in addition to his Gold Glove defense, and he'll probably win his 6th straight Gold Glove this year, he can be pesky with the bat.
He is now tied, as far as Gold Gloves is concerned, with his hero, Davy Concepcion from Venezuela. And he has 5 Gold Gloves, Davy Concepcion does. And as you mentioned, Vizquel may go past him this year.
Of course, Ozzie Smith had 13, most ever by a shortstop.
That's why they called him the Wizard.
Here's Lofton, who struck out his first time. Speaking of Gold Glove shortstops, we're sad to report that Mark Belanger, who was so great with the leather for so many years on those excellent Baltimore teams, Mark Belanger passed away today. Died of cancer. He had been an official for many years with the Players Association, working with Don Fehr and Gene Orza. Spins away. Belanger was a different kind of shortstop. He didn't make as many diving plays, but he seemed to always know where the ball was going. The Orioles had that great pitching staff, so I guess you could count on positioning yourself a bit better when you played with the same pitchers and they had such good control year in, year out, but he seldom booted one.
And the thing I remember most about him, Bob, is he used a small glove. He didn't use one of those huge gloves. And he caught everything fundamentally correct, 2 hands. I mean, he was just a good shortstop.
There's a strike. What a left side of the infield. Brooks Robinson and Mark Belanger.
And Belanger has won several Gold Gloves. There you see he's the next target for Omar Vizquel. Aparicio and Ozzie Smith, of course, at the top of the list.
Omar is chased back. He stole 37 this year and was caught 12 times. Lofton had a couple of home runs against the Red Sox in the division series and hit 12 during the regular season. Called strike, 1-2.
Either Lofton's not picking the ball up well from David Wells, or he is making pitches opposite of where he's thinking, because he's taking a lot of fastballs that seem to be hittable.
1-2 pitch fouled off. The Indians are hopeful of turning the tables on the Yankees. In Game 1 of the division series last year at Yankee Stadium, Cleveland scored 5 times in the top of the first, but the Yankees came back and won the game 8-6. Cleveland rebounded from that defeat and won the series 3-2. Yankees leading 5-0 with 5 first-inning runs here in Game 1 of the LCS. And Lofton hangs in.
Well, Mike Hargrove has seen all this before. They've lost a lot of opening games of series and been able to come back, and they've looked 7 straight. And they've come back to win 4, I believe. 4 of the 7.
Another 1-2 offering. And for the second time, Lofton is down on strikes.
And this is what David Wells does so well with Kenny Lofton. He starts him with a breaking ball, then he comes fastball for a strike. Another fastball right there. Fastball up. He'll throw another fastball up that he fouls away. Now he throws him the breaking ball. Oh, no, that was a fastball, too, the cut fastball. I thought the way Lofton bailed out of there was a breaking ball, but it was a little cut fastball.
Second strikeout for Wells. Lofton both times. Still at first with 2 down now. In there for a strike. Wells is 12-1 this year at Yankee Stadium, counting his playoff victory against Texas. He faced the Indians once during the regular season, pitched 8 strong innings, allowed 2 runs, 8 hits, struck out 9, and got the win. There goes Vizquel. Pitches high and away. Posada's throw not nearly in time.
I think that's a very smart play. One thing you can't do if you're Cleveland, you're down 5-0, but you have a long ways to go. You cannot take away your strength, and part of their strength is Vizquel running, Lofton running, Coro trying to steal a base. You have to do those things because you're trying to scuffle back. Get 1 run here, 1 run there, and you're back in the ball game. The way Wells is throwing, you're just not going to be able to mount a big inning against him at this point.
Cora trying to knock home a run and keep the inning alive for Justice, who waits on deck. Wells turns but doesn't throw.
The one thing you want him to do if you're Cleveland is to know that you will run. You will still play the game. And that will sometimes take part of his concentration away from the hitter.
Here's the 1-1. All strike 2. Wells a strike away from closing out the Cleveland third. Made Cora wait too long. Got a piece of it. Another 1-2 pitch. Called strike 3. Second strikeout in the inning. Third in the game. After 2.5. 5-0 New York. In the bottom of the third, the Yankees will send up Tim Raines, Shane Spencer, and Jorge Posada. Raines struck out his first time up. Age and injuries have slowed him down, at least on the bases. He only swiped 8 this year, but he has more than 800 career steals. O.J. has it, and on the comebacker, Raines is gone. Now Shane Spencer, who had a walk as part of the 5-run Yankee first. As this kid walks to the plate, I'm reminded of a line by the legendary Lefty Phillips. Remember him? Longtime baseball man, managed the Angels for a while, and had a way of mangling the English language that was very entertaining. And they asked him once why his team was struggling. And Lefty said, "Our phenoms ain't phenomenating." This kid has been phenomenating for more than a month. O.J. works to him. Ball 1. He had nice minor league numbers, but nothing that would make you think that anything like this was in store for him. One and one.
Well, in talking to the Yankees, they say one of the reasons that his minor league numbers do not add up to what he's doing now is because the last year is when he's made the biggest strides and the biggest adjustments as a hitter and learned more about hitting. Some people are late bloomers, and he happens to be one.
Grew up in California, near San Diego. High school teammate of Brian Giles, who's not in the lineup tonight, but is on the Cleveland bench. Two and two to him. Spencer's mother, Althea, lives in the town of Shirley, Arkansas, population 363. He says the phone won't stop ringing at her house these days. Full count. Would be going on in Shirley, Arkansas that would outrank somebody hitting 10 home runs and 33 at-bats for the Yankees. Down on strikes. So O.J. takes care of him. Baseball tomorrow. Game 2 of the ALCS is an afternoon game. 4 o'clock Eastern time here at Yankee Stadium. A couple of veteran right-handers, David Cohn against Charles Nagy. And then on Fox, Joe Buck, Tim McCarver. I don't know if Bob Brenly joins them or not at this stage. Maybe it's just for the World Series. But I know Joe and Tim will be there for Game 1 of the Braves and the Padres, which should be a good series. 2 out, nobody on for Posada, who cuts and misses. And he singled his first time.
O.J. is offering a different look for the Yankee hitters. Jared Wright basically fastballs in the 90s. O.J. is throwing a lot of changeups. That's what he struck Spencer out with, a 3-2 changeup down and away.
Remember how effective O.J. was in the World Series last year for Cleveland against the Marlins. That changeup was his #1 pitch. He also showed what he could do with the bat. Unusual for an American League pitcher. 2-1. 3 balls and a strike. The Indians have been an excellent team for quite a while now. This is their 4th straight division title. They've been to the World Series 2 of the last 3 years. under Mike Hargrove. But the one thing they've been trying to get, John Hart, their excellent general manager, has not quite been able to do this, to get a true ace for the starting rotation. That's in there. No. Ball 4. I thought, by the way, Posada stood there for a moment, that it might have been strike 2, and maybe O.J. had the same thought, but he draws the walk. They went after Randy Johnson. They were hopeful of getting Roger Clemens. They were hopeful of getting David Wells, the guy who's opposing them tonight, John Smoltz, and some others, and they were never able to get that true overpowering guy to open a playoff series for you, to go out there and win 20 games each year. They've managed to be an excellent team with a bunch of guys who are between 12 and 15 game winners. Now Brocious, who singled his first time up.
Well, every team that has aspirations of winning a world championship usually has a horse, or a guy that they know, can go out and dominate the opposition. And at this point, you're right, Cleveland doesn't have.
Scattering them in the box seats.
Well,
yeah, that had to sting.
Yeah, he tried to barehand it. And Cleveland doesn't have that top-notch guy who can win 20 ball games. But, very few teams have them to win 20 nowadays because they pitch every 5th day. But they're still looking for that #1 starter. And I'm sure they will be out there again in the free agent market this year trying to acquire one.
Inside to Brocious, 1-2.
Because in this day and age, the only way you're going to get one now is through free agency.
Or if one of your own guys truly blossoms, like they hope Jarrett Wright will. Their farm system has been very productive in Cleveland. One-two pitch in the air to left. Justice backs up a few steps and takes it. No runs, no hits, a walk, and a man is left. 3 complete in the Bronx. 5-0 Yanks. Our offices, of course, located in that building in the foreground. You have an office there, do you, Joe? The penthouse suite, perhaps? Yes. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Back in the Bronx, the Yankees take a 5-0 lead to the top half of the 4th. Here's David Justice, who came up big in the division series against the Red Sox, had the Game 2 home run. Then in Game 4, when they wrapped it up, he threw John Valentin out at the plate on a great fielding play. And that had the big double off Tom Gordon in the 8th inning as they came from behind to win. He's playing in his 6th league championship series between the Braves and the Indians.
The one thing that the Indians have been able to do this year, they struggled down the stretch, but they were able to turn it up a notch when they got to the division series against Boston. That's what a veteran team can do, and that's why when you look at the Indians, you have to feel they have a chance against the Yankees. Because they have so many good hitters and so many veterans are always able to, carry them for a game or two. Dave Justice can have a great game and drive in 4 or 5 runs. Manuel Ramirez, Jim Thome, Travis Fryman, they have some lumber on this ball club.
The 2-0 pitch. Grounded to second. Knobloch takes care of Justice. And now something I know you'll enjoy. Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse, one of the greatest of all Yankees, played by Gary Cooper, as you no doubt recall, in the great baseball movie Pride of the Yankees. That's Teresa Wright, who played Eleanor Gehrig, and she is still around and very much a Yankee fan, and spoke with our Keith Olbermann.
Bob, if you know movies or you know baseball, you know Pride of the Yankees, and this is Teresa Wright, who played Mrs. Lou Gehrig, who has been a Yankee fan since July of this year? Of this year.
So my first game on July 4th, and I've been just a great mad fan ever since. I started watching and reading, and the more I watched and the more I read, the more fascinated I got by it.
But you had never been to Yankee Stadium before this July 4th.
I was here once for a promotion, something about to do with Pride of the Yankees. After, this was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. But I've never seen a game, and I'm here, and I'd never seen a game anywhere. Anyway, I just find it the most beautiful game in the world. To me, it's just pure theater. I love everything about it. I love this team, their sportsmanship, their cooperation with each other. It just makes you feel good. I've never seen anything that I've gotten so excited about in my life.
And they say baseball's not drawing any new fans.
Well, I won't be around long, but while I'm here, I'll be a fan.
We hope you're most incorrect about that. Teresa Wright, thank you kindly for joining us. We appreciate it. Bob, back to you.
Keith, thanks a lot. You remember Pride of the Yankees, don't you, Joe?
Of course.
Walter Brennan playing the old sports writer. Babe Ruth playing himself. And looking a good deal more like the Babe than William Bendix did. Swing and a miss by Ramirez, and he takes a seat. That's the 4th strikeout for Wells.
Well, David Wells' strikeout pitch tonight seems to be the high fastball. And when he's getting 2 strikes on these hitters, he's been able to get a few of them to go up and out of the strike zone chasing it.
And he struck out 3 of the last 4 hitters he's faced. Instead of the K's, as is the usual custom, they're putting up 39 jerseys in honor of Darryl Strawberry, watching the game from his room at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. A strike on the inside edge to Sexton.
I guess they're lucky Kerry Wood is not pitching. They might need 20 jerseys, huh?
Don't know how many they brought tonight. Fryman flied to center his first time up. The 0-1 pitch. And Wells gets ahead of him.
Well, the one thing I like about what David Wells is doing, Bob, is he's not pitching like it's a 5-0 ball game. He's pitching like it's a 0-0 ball game, and I think that's what you have to do early in the ball game. Once you get to the 6th or 7th inning, then you play the numbers that you have. Then you have to make sure that you pitch to win.
One and two. Wells trying to work his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. He's allowed the Indians 2 hits. Singles by Ramirez and Vizquel. The 1-2 to Fryman. 2-2. Hit toward the hole. Jeter backhands from the outfield grass. Got him! Man, what a play! 5-0 New York. Top of the order in the bottom of the 4th. Still 5-0 New York. Knobloch, Jeter, and O'Neill against Chad O'Jay in relief of Jarrett Wright. Don't worry, we'll take a few more looks at that remarkable play by Jeter in the hole as this inning moves along.
It's worth a few more looks.
Derek Sanderson Jeter waiting on deck. Well hit by Knobloch, but foul. Knobloch's a career .304 hitter who hit .265 this year. The 17 homers, however, represented a career high. Fouled off.
And Bob, even though he played in a homer-friendly ballpark, the Metrodome, he took advantage of the AstroTurf and stayed on top of the ball. That's why he hit for a much higher average and fewer home runs, even though it is a better home run hitter's ballpark than this park is. But part of his problem this year, he has hit a few home runs, but he's hitting too many balls in the air. He's not staying on top of the ball like he did on AstroTurf.
He's 1 for 2 tonight. Vizquel backhands and throws him out.
And when people tell you that today's players are bigger and stronger and faster, they're correct, because this is about strength here. Now watch how far he goes in the hole to make this play, and then to be strong enough to leap in the air and make a strong, accurate throw. Look how strong that throw is and how accurate it is. I mean, that is about strength right there. I mean, this is a beautiful play. I don't know how many shortstops could make that play. You've got to be pretty strong to be able to do that. You got to have a lot of range, which he has, to get to it, and then the strength to make a throw from deep on the outfield grass and retire the runner at first base. That is a great play.
In addition to that play, he's singled twice and stolen a base tonight. The Yankees are riding a 10-game winning streak. Last 7 of the regular season, then the sweep of Texas. Same is true of the Braves in the National League. 7 straight to close the season, 3 straight over the Cubs, and the Padres will be next for them. In the air to right, carrying pretty well, but Ramirez to the edge of the track to take it. That'll bring up O'Neill with 2 out and nobody on. Providing the shots from above, the Goodyear blimp Stars and Stripes. The 192-foot blimp travels to an average of 40 cities each year from its base in Pompano Beach, Florida. Jeter is singled and grounded out. Make it O'Neill. Ball 1 to Paul. Hit toward the hole. Sexton smothers it, covering his OJ, and they get him on a nice play, 3-1. The Yankees go in order in the 4th and still lead it 5-0. Dating back to his division series victory over Cleveland last year, David Wells has now thrown 19 consecutive scoreless postseason innings. Finishing up that game 3 against Cleveland, the 8 scoreless innings against Texas, and the first 4 here as we move to the 5th with the Yanks in front 5-0. Thome, Sexton, and Alomar are due. Thome grounded out his first time and takes strike 1.
Bob, I've always said that a left-handed pitcher who can throw strikes can win in the big league. And a left-handed pitcher who can throw strikes and has great stuff can be a big winner and will be a big winner. And that's what you see in David Wells. I mean, he is using the edges of this plate beautifully tonight. Another perfect pitch right on the inside corner under the hands.
Knobloch. The ball coming back toward the infield as he takes it for the first out. And coming to NBC Sunday night.
Sometimes getting away with murder is worse than getting caught. Dostoevsky's timeless classic comes to NBC, Crime and Punishment, Sunday.
That's Crime and Punishment, Sunday on NBC. The Cliff Notes version available on CNBC next week.
We are in the 5th inning, and David Wells has only thrown 16 balls out of 55 pitches so far in this ball game. And the balls he threw, some of them were intentionally when he was ahead 0-2.
A ball to Sexton. To the Indian first baseman who grounded out his first time up. We're in the 5th, 5-0 New York.
17 balls, 40 strikes, and again, he wastes some pitches when he's ahead in the count.
1-2.
And you can tell that has pinpoint control. Just watch how Posada, when he catches the ball, he doesn't have to move it. You see guys catch the ball just off the outside corner. They move it to try to get a strike, move it on the corner. He is just catching the ball, and it's right there on the corner.
Called strike 3. That's 5.
And I mean, there's not a lot we can say other than that he is magnificent tonight. Look at this pitch. Watch, everything he throws, he has a purpose. Now watch this next pitch. This is a pitch I like right there, right on the corner. See, all he does is catch it. All he does is catch it. The catcher does not move his glove at all. And that tells you what kind of control David Wells has tonight. Plus, he has great stuff.
5 strikeouts, and the last 3 were called third strikes. Alomar dribbles one foul.
And when you get called third strikes, that tells you that he's using both sides of the plate. He's not just overpowering the hitters. He's setting them up away, and then he busts them in under the hands, or he stays in, and then he hits the outside edge. So, I mean, every pitch has a purpose, and he has control of all of his pitches tonight. Well, they got 5, but the way he's throwing, they're going to need quite a few more.
Flied to right in his only plate appearance so far. A ball and a strike. You look out at Wells, he's very serene seemingly on the mound tonight, but this is a guy who can be a wild man. Once in Toronto, Cito Gaston took him out of the game. He fired the ball down the left field line. He's been known to glare at and yell at his fielders, then apologize later. He feels that he was let down by his fielders in the heat of the game. That's out of play.
I can't remember the last good swing I've seen a Cleveland Indian player have. Like that pitch there, in on his hands, all he could do is fight it off. Every hitter's objective when he goes to the plate is to make sure he gets a good pitch so he can have a good swing. That is not happening tonight.
Here it comes on 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There was the incident last summer where he nearly came to blows with his owner, George Steinbrenner, ordering him out of the clubhouse. But then when he pitched the perfect game this past May, he had a special ring made for Steinbrenner to commemorate the occasion. A couple of winters ago, he broke his hand in a street fight right before his first season with the Yankees. He's got tattoos of his son and of his late mother on his body. Not your average chap. A full count. Refers to his late mother, Eugenia Ann, as Attitude Annie. He says that's where his own attitude comes from. These are facts, Joe.
These are facts.
Don't just smile. Give me something here. The 3-2 pitch. A bouncer toward Knobloch. Wells has retired 8 in a row. And has the same 5-0 lead he had after 1. You know, Joe, a couple of years ago, in effect, the Yankees swapped Jimmy Key for David Wells. They didn't re-sign Key. He wound up with the Orioles. Wells came over to the Yankees, and some people questioned the wisdom of that. It's turned out pretty well.
Well, I thought the Yankees were getting the best of it, not because he was a much better pitcher, but he was younger, and he was going to give you more innings. And David Wells has always pitched well here in Yankee Stadium.
We move to the bottom half of the 5th. Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, and Tim Raines, the hitters for New York. 5-7-0 for the Yankees. 6 of those hits in a 5-run first inning. 0-2-0 for Cleveland. Strike 1 to Bernie. He singled and struck out. had a miserable time in the division series, including making the last out in Game 5 with Paul O'Neill, a potential tying run at second base. Then went hitless against Texas in this year's division series before singling his first time up tonight. Alomar back for a look. It's in the seats.
Bob, a lot of people may be wondering, because Chad O.J. has pitched so well these last 3 innings, they may be saying, well, why didn't they start Chad? They might have had a better chance. Well, first of all, you know, when you come in out of the bullpen, you're more relaxed, and sometimes it takes a starting pitcher an inning before he can relax and start making his pitches out there. And they didn't give Jared Wright a chance to do that. The 0-2 runs off the plate. It's much easier to come in and pitch in a relaxed situation when you're down already than it is to start a ball game 0-0.
Still 1-2. No action in the Cleveland bullpen, with O.J. going strong at this point. Inside 2-2. Hangs in.
Well, O.J. has definitely been able to keep these Yankee hitters off balance with his variety of breaking balls, curveballs, changeups, and sinkers. And that's all you can ask of a relief pitcher, especially a long relief pitcher, is to hold them right there and give your team a chance to come back.
Fryman has it. Across the diamond to Sexton. Close play, but they get Bernie. Remember, tomorrow's Game 2 is an afternoon game. October afternoon baseball in the Bronx. That'll feel like old times. Shane Spencer now has come to the point where he shares the marquee with David Justice.
Yeah.
Justice, a postseason perennial. Spencer wasn't even on the roster for the final time until August 31st. That's when you know you've arrived. 4 Eastern time tomorrow on NBC. The pitchers are Cohn and Nagy.
I saw your picture on there once.
Must have been a mistake.
I don't mean on that side, but promoting NBC.
They must have been desperate. Martinez has grounded out and been robbed of a hit on a sliding catch in left by David Justice. 1-1. There is Shane, who came riding into the valley out of Columbus. A pop-up into foul ground. Alomar off with a mass. Sandy has it. So Martinez is 0 for 3. For the sake of context, when you think about Cleveland's chances, 25 games worse than the Yankees during the season, the 2 biggest upsets in terms of the difference between victories during the regular season in the history of the LCS occurred in 1973 and in 1987. And we'll take a look at it after this first pitch to Tim Raines, which is a ball. In 1987, the Tigers were 13 victories better than the Twins. Minnesota beat them in 5. The Reds of 73, your Reds, Joe, were 17 wins better than the Mets and lost a 5-game LCS to them, 3 games to 2.
Actually, those were Johnny Bench's and Pete Rose's Reds. If they would have been mine, we'd have won.
You were there, though, weren't you?
Yeah, but that was their Reds at the time.
You've disowned them.
Hey, they were my Reds in 75 and 76.
2-0 pitch to Raines. Here you have a 25-game differential.
But like those series, it's a short series, and anything can happen in a short series. And make no mistake about it. I mean, even if the Yankees are able to hold this lead, but Cleveland still has 12 outs to go. But it's still, I mean, it's only the first of a 7-game series. A lot of things happen in a 7-game series.
Cleveland lost 8 of 11 to the Red Sox during the regular season, then dropped game 1 of the division series, came back to win the next 3. But then the Red Sox weren't within 20 games of the Yankees either. Foul ball, full count.
Well, the one thing I still believe in, that is that the Indians are not intimidated by the Yankees, because they have beaten the Yankees in these situations before. So I don't think they're intimidated. I know Mike Hargrove is not intimidated, and the players aren't. I mean, the players feel like they showed you what they're made of by coming back after Boston beat up on them badly the first game of that division series. And to come back and win 2 ball games in Boston, it shows you how good a team they are and how much confidence they have in their ability. And they're not going to quit on this ball game yet. And they're not going to quit on the series even if they lose.
Fouled away, still 3-2. Well, if you want to look at it this way, Cleveland has 3 things, at least 3 things, going for them here. Playoff experience, right? Less pressure than they faced in recent years because they're not necessarily expected to do as well this time around, and the fact that they beat the Yankees a year ago in the division series and came from behind to do it. A 2-out walk to Raines.
Well, I actually feel like and felt coming into this series that the pressure was on the Yankees. The Yankees have won 114 games, and most of the season they actually have been playing against themselves. You know, they haven't had any pressure. They haven't been pushed. And I was wondering what would happen if the Yankees were to fall behind in this first game. We won't discover that, of course, today, but I was just wondering how they would react, because I still feel the pressure's on the Yankees because of all the victories they had this season.
Spencer cuts and misses.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of hits so far in the season, but there are 14 down. That tells you he is a pull hitter. The other 2 add up to less than the pull field, so I would say he is a pull hitter. O.J. has thrown him a lot of change-ups, and that's been bothering him. He struck him out with a change-up the last time up. He starts him off with a change-up this time.
A ball and a strike. To continue on the Yankees, as you may have heard, no team that had baseball's best record during the season has won the World Series in the 90s. When the Yankees won the series in 96, they had the 3rd best overall record in the majors that year. The last team with the best record in the majors to win the whole thing was the '89 A's. Well hit left field. Justice on the run makes the catch. So Spencer's now 0 for 2 with a walk. We played 5, and the Yankees lead. With Tim Raines at first in the bottom half of the inning, listen to first base coach Jose Cardinal of the Yankees.
Come on, show everybody in the ballpark a 50-year-old man going to the base right now. Come on. Come on. You can do it.
50-year-old man, I think he finally talked him into taking off there.
Jose apparently misreading Tim's birth certificate. He turned 39 last month.
Now he's up, moving the outfielders in. He's bringing Paul O'Neill in from right field.
O'Neill tends to pay attention when Cardinal repositions him, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Vizquel singled and stole a base his first time up. Lines this one into the seats foul. Cardinal's the guy who's in charge of positioning the Yankee outfielders, former big league outfielder himself. He moved O'Neill back and over a few steps toward right center just before Luis Polonia rocked a pitch in that direction at the end of Game 5 in the World Series 2 years ago. And Paul made a running catch to close the game out, which the Yankees won 1-0 to take a 3-2 lead back to the Bronx.
And if memory serves me correctly, there was someone on base that would have tied the ball game had the ball gotten over his head. You know, Bob, we're in the 6th inning now. This is the time that the Indians have to make a dent, or else they're going to be in big trouble. You have to do something. You have 12 outs still left. You have to make something happen now.
Brocious to his left, pops back up, pulls Martinez off the bag, but he tags Vizquel. Brocious is playing with a severely sprained left ankle, hurt in Game 3 of the division series against Texas when he was picked off first by Ivan Rodriguez. He jammed the foot getting back to the bag, and there was some question as to whether he could play, but obviously he suited up and started.
The reason I say this inning they have to start doing things because they can no longer get on base 5-0 and try to steal bases. You have to use your out judiciously now, or else, I mean, you're in big trouble. So you can no longer steal bases. You just have to try to make some things happen here.
Lofton has struck out twice.
Plus, the closer you get to the 8th and 9th inning, the closer you get to Mariano Rivera.
An unappealing prospect if you're the Indians.
And this is a good curveball from David Wells. And this is the pitch that I talked about at the beginning of the broadcast that has really served him well tonight. And I think that has been the big difference, plus his great control.
A slow roller charging is Martinez. Fair ball. Lofton tries to duck under him, but Tino applies the tag.
That was a nice attempt there by Lofton. He ran all the way down like he was going to run over him and then tried to dive underneath him. And that shows me something, too, because it's very easy just to sit here and let him tag you if you're locked and watch. He acts like he's going to run over him. Now he tries to dive underneath him. Good hustle there by Lofton. And Tino charges and grabs this ball. Now, look. And he does tag him right on the back.
Straight, set down by Wells. Joey Cora hits this one pretty well, but Shane Spencer will track it down. 11 in a row retired by the Yankee left-hander. Cruising with a 5-0 lead after 5½. Interesting angle on the foul pole as our cameramen and women seek to amuse themselves as we move to the bottom half of the 6th. Yankees got 5 in the first, and it stayed that way. Chad O.J. has done the job. Until now, as Posada rips one down the line inside that foul pole and gone. How prescient are these camera people? They show you the foul pole, and then Posada darn near hits it.
Tries to sneak a fastball by Posada on the inside corner. You see where Alomar Jr. is set up, and that's where the pitch is, but Posada able to get the barrel out and wrap it around the foul pole. That's one of the few times that he's tried to come inside on the first pitch to a hitter.
6-0 New York. The first extra base hit of the game. One to Brocious. A ball and 2 strikes. Posada hit 17 regular season home runs. A Yankee Stadium homer there. Would have been a double in most ballparks.
Maybe. It may have stayed fair.
Slow roller, Vizquel charging. Sure-handed as always. Made just 5 errors during the regular season and has never made an error in a playoff or World Series game.
I mean, he is just so sure, Bob. I mean, watch how he transfers the ball from the glove to his hand. Watch this. Watch how he does that. Look at that. I mean, he doesn't really catch it in the glove. That ball, he just kind of deflects it into his hand. I mean, he just does a lot of things. So he just kind of deflects it into his hand. See how quickly he got the ball out of there? That's sure-handedness.
Now blocked 1 for 3. His single started the 5-run Yankee first. Well, you played with Concepcion. Toward the end of your career, Ozzie Smith was beginning to establish himself as the premier defensive shortstop in the game. You've seen others. How does Vizquel rank?
Well, you know, it's very difficult. You know, I don't see Vizquel as much as I saw Ozzie Smith. But, I mean, I still think Ozzie Smith's the greatest shortstop I ever saw because I played against him. I saw him on a daily basis. But when you watch Vizquel play, it's hard to imagine anyone being better. So, I mean, it's just a difficult, you know, decision for me to try to pick Vizquel as being as good as Ozzie. I just saw so much of Ozzie Smith. I saw so many great plays.
Vizquel's so good with the glove, he can practice his batting stance while he's out there.
Yeah, and Ozzie did a little better backflip, you know, at the beginning of the ball game than Vizquel does. Vizquel hasn't decided he wanted to do that yet, but he probably could if he wanted to. You know, Mike Hargrove, you know, he says that Vizquel is the best shortstop ever, you know, and that includes Ozzie Smith. But like me, he saw more of Vizquel than he did Ozzie Smith. So, a matter of who saw who the most.
The 1-2 pitch. A high pop. Sexton comes in from first and calls to make the catch. And coming to NBC Thursday.
For 9 months, we've been anxiously awaiting this moment.
I'm having my first contraction. Oh, it's not bad.
Okay. TV's triplets are coming on Friends, NBC Thursday.
Definitely a must-see Friends, NBC Thursday. Derek Jeter, 2 singles and 3 trips, plus a stolen base.
And a great play at shortstop.
The Yankees obviously are one of the best single-season teams of all time. At least they will be regarded that way if they go all the way through and win the World Series. But they don't have anybody on the team who's a certified Hall of Famer. Williams may be one day, this guy may be one day, but they don't have anybody yet with Hall of Fame credentials, and they really don't have anybody who figures to be the league's MVP, although they won 114 games. But if you ask Joe Torre about the team's MVP, he might very well pick this guy, his shortstop. Roll to second, Cora. That'll do it. But the inning includes the home run from Jorge Posada, and it puts the Yankees in front 6-0 after 6. Joe, you remember what the Yankee pitching did to the heart of the Texas order in the division series. Well, Justice, Ramirez, and Fryman are a combined 1 for 6 so far in this game, game 1 of the LCS.
Look at that. 1 run allowed in 33 innings, 32 strikeouts. Looks a high there, 5 bases on balls, the way he has control tonight. That's a high.
If you want to drop it down to the 6th slot to include Tomey, who's DHing tonight, then it's a combined 1 for 8 against David Wells. The 1 is a Ramirez single. A strike to Justice.
I mean, as good as Justice has been swinging the bat, I don't remember him having a good swing in this ball game.
There's a good swing and an opposite field hit.
Fastball up and over the middle of the plate. Not too many of those so far in this ball game.
And it's just the 3rd Cleveland hit. Let's check in with Keith Olbermann.
Bob, what you just mentioned about how the Yankees have kept the opposition to 1 run through here the 7th inning of the 4th game. That is extending a Major League postseason record for fewest runs allowed. 1 run over 3 games, and now 1 run over 3 games in 7 innings. So this is record-breaking, if not action-packed. Back to you.
Well put. Ramirez has singled and struck out. A high fly ball to center field. Bernie Williams circles under it. And that's the first out. Once again, tomorrow's Game 2, 4 o'clock Eastern Time from Yankee Stadium. Cone for the Yanks. Nagy on the mound for Cleveland. Justice and Spencer figure to be here as well. They are pictured. Travis Fryman flied out and robbed of a hit on a tremendous play in the hole at short by Derek Jeter. In for a strike. Now, I don't want this to be misunderstood, but when we talk about consecutive scoreless innings in the postseason, remember, this is the division series and the beginning of the LCS. I don't know that the comparison holds up, even though Texas and Cleveland are good hitting teams, especially Texas this year. If you want to talk about what the 63 Dodgers, for example, Koufax, Drysdale, and the rest did against the Yankees, that's in the World Series. Or in '66, what the Orioles did to the Dodgers, that's in the World Series. Against the certified best team in the other league.
Well, I think you have to separate them because that's what you're talking about. In the World Series, you have the 2 best teams supposedly in each league playing, so the quality of play should be higher. And the standards, both hitting and pitching, will be higher.
Still pretty impressive what the Yankee pitchers have done. And Wells is ahead of Fryman, 0-2. As Yankee fans know, but we pick up a lot of viewers as we move into the postseason from around the country, Wells wears 33 because they wouldn't issue him number 3, the retired number of his idol, Babe Ruth. Not that many modern-day players have truly extensive knowledge of baseball history. Wells does, especially anything pertaining to the Babe. Off-speed pitch, cut on and missed. And down goes Fryman.
Well, this is an interesting pitch sequence to Fryman. He starts him off with a breaking ball for a strike. Now a fastball. This is the first 0-2 curveball that he has thrown the entire ballgame right there. Then he comes back with another curveball. And 6 jerseys.
Strikeout number 6. I'm not exactly sure where all these jerseys are coming from. The Yankees themselves, all of them are wearing the number 39 on the backs of their caps.
Bob, I saw a couple of guys without shirts on down there, right field line. Maybe they're taking them.
Chilly night, too. Tomey's 0 for 2. The 39 on the backs of the caps, of course, to let Darryl Strawberry know that they're thinking of it.
And the great thing is the Yankees, they didn't just, draw it.
Strikeout number 6. I'm not exactly sure where all these jerseys are coming from. The Yankees themselves, all of them are wearing the number 39 on the backs of their caps.
Bob, I saw a couple of guys without shirts on down there, right field line. Maybe they're taking them.
Chilly night, too. Tomey's 0 for 2. The 39 on the backs of the caps, of course, to let Darryl Strawberry know that they're thinking of it.
And the great thing is the Yankees, they didn't just, draw it on with a pen. When I was in Texas the other day, they didn't have their hats. I said, where are their hats? They said, they're out. They're not back yet. They had them embroidered on the number on the back. They didn't just write it on. Sometimes we see players do that. They say the Yankee way of doing it is to embroider it on. I said, oh, okay.
That's classic, yeah.
I was impressed.
Called strike 2. Wells Wells has struck out 6. Yankee Stadium crowd roaring for a 7th. One and 2. Apparently, the Yankees have relaxed their rule against facial hair. Wells working on a postseason goatee.
He pitched like he's pitching. I don't think they're going to argue with you too much at this point.
I agree with that.
Hey, they may argue with him opening day, but not in the playoffs in the World Series.
Martinez behind Justice at first. And Tomey is hit by the pitch. Did it hit the bat? It may have hit the bat. The ruling is that it hit the bat, and the Yankees throw in behind Justice at first. Now the plate umpire, Jim Evans, is saying, no, it hit him. The Yankees arguing to the contrary. But if it hit the bat, why would they be throwing in behind Justice? Because it would have been a foul ball.
No, it went fair. The ball was fair. If it hit the bat first, it was a fair ball. It went out in front of the plate. But he's also getting help. He got some help from Larry Young down at third base that he said the ball hit him. See, what Joe Torre is arguing about is that he felt like it hit the knob of the bat and went out in the fair territory.
Well, maybe we can see it more clearly on the replay. It looked like it might have hit the knob of the bat.
Well, see, and it does go in fair territory. They're saying that it hit the knob of the bat. Now watch where the ball
goes. Yeah, you're right.
See, that's a fair ball.
Sure.
If it hits the knob of the bat, that's a fair ball. But I mean, I still can't tell completely that it didn't get part. Remember, it doesn't have to hit you solidly. If it just grazes your uniform or grazes your hand, you are considered to be hit by the ball. If you're not swinging at it, and he definitely didn't take a swing.
Well, the ruling is hit by pitch. The Yankees played it as if the ball was live.
Well, I think because of the way that Tomey reacted, you know.
Sexton's 0 for 2. With one swing, he can cut the lead in half. Ball 1. Now we're going to listen. See if we can pick something up. Can't tell.
I can't tell. Now, Mel Stottlemyre is going to go out and talk to David Wells, because this is a very crucial at-bat here. I mean, even if he doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark, if he finds a gap and score a couple of runs, I mean, you get back in this ball game. You can't, again, expect to get all 6 of them back at one time, but you can, a double here and it's a ball game again.
Tomey didn't act as if he had been hit by the pitch.
Well, initially I thought he was angry, that maybe he'd gotten hit, but then I just wasn't sure. And maybe he wasn't sure either, Bob. I mean, that may be the point, because it's very difficult to tell right there. It definitely hit the bat at some point, but I mean, whether it hit his hand first and then hit the bat, I don't know. See if we can take a look here. And remember, I mean, the real point here is that the umpire is trying to call this at 90-plus miles an hour, and we can't even discern with a slow motion pitch. So I'd have to go along with the umpires, because I thought he got hit by the pitch. But it seems to have upset David Wells anyway. I mean, I haven't seen him throw this many pitches that far out of the strike zone in the entire ball game.
2-0 now to Sexton. Now remember, the way Tomey holds the bat, the bottom hand, the right hand, is actually overlapping.
Well, he has one finger buried. He has that one finger buried, they call it.
And now Wells falls behind 3-0. He hasn't walked anyone. since Joey Cora, the second batter of the game. Sandy Alomar on deck. Called strike. Here's the 3-1. Full count. So the runners will be going with 2 out. We're in the top of the 7th. New York leading it 6-0. Single and a hit batter have raised Cleveland hopes just a bit. Justice away from second. Tomey away from first. They go on the 3-2 pitch. And they'll have to come back.
Well, David Wells is still throwing well. He's still hitting around 90 miles an hour with his fastball.
Again on 3-2. Struck him out with high heat. His second in the inning, his 7th of the game, and it's still 6-0. Our overhead coverage is courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. This year, Goodyear is celebrating its 100-year anniversary and the 72nd consecutive year for its blimp operation. Bottom of the 7th. O.J., who's been in since the 1st after he relieved Wright, works to O'Neill, who skies one down the left field line and out of play.
And O.J. has done a tremendous job. I mean, he's given his team an opportunity to come back. They haven't been able to, but he's done his job.
So the question becomes, does O.J. now replace Wright in the starting rotation if it goes that far and if Wright's turn would come up again?
Well, that's a very good question. But I think Mike Hargrove felt as I did, and that is that hard throwers were the ones that bothered the Yankees the most. But it didn't work out that way today in Jarrett Wright's case. And O.J., with his variety of all-speed pitches, has handled them a lot better than Wright did.
The 0-1 to O'Neill. A ball and a strike. Jim Poole, the lefty. Steve Reed, the righty. Posada touched O.J. for a home run an inning back. Other than that, he's done very well.
You know, one other point, Bob, on Jarrett Wright, he only threw like 36 pitches or so. So if they decide to, he could come back in the 4th game if they had the confidence to bring him back, you know, or at least they could put him in the bullpen in the 4th game. I don't know exactly what their plans are, and I think a lot depends on what happens in the remainder of this ball game and the one tomorrow.
O.J.'s 1-2 pitch. O'Neill holds up 2-2. With no disrespect directed toward the Rangers or the Indians, the fans at Yankee Stadium look at all of this as part of a process that ends in the World Series. Now, if they were to meet Atlanta in the series, and again, no disrespect to San Diego, but Atlanta carries a different reputation. That's fouled back. They won 106 this year. They would be in the World Series for the 5th time this decade if they make it. Then you'd have a classic World Series matchup. And it would seem like everything had funneled toward that for the whole season. But at this point, I think Yankee fans, without underestimating the Rangers or the Indians, regard these as preliminary rounds.
You want me to comment on that?
Yeah. The 2-2 pitch. Well hit down the right field line. And one hop against the wall. O'Neill on his way to second. Ramirez with a strong throw, but he's in there. O'Neill's second hit of the night.
Well, O.J. gets a fastball in, and O'Neill's able to fight it off and hit it down the right field line. I thought Ramirez was going to have a real good shot at him. He makes a strong throw. It's a little bit offline, and O'Neill goes in safely. When O'Neill hits this ball, fastball in, he knows that he's going for a double. He hustles right out of the batter's box, and he never slows down. And good hustle.
So you were saying?
Oh, yeah, O'Neill hit that ball really well. No, I can understand your point.
Understanding it's not the same thing as agreeing with it.
No, I mean, it's like, I think of the Atlanta Braves, and I said this earlier in the year when they were talking about Houston and San Diego challenging them. I said, going to the World Series, you're still going to have to go through Atlanta to get to the World Series. I still feel that way, and I felt the Yankees were the best team in the American League. But it doesn't mean that Cleveland can't catch the Yankees and beat them, and it doesn't mean that San Diego can't beat Atlanta simply because they're going to have Kevin Brown going against the Atlanta Braves, and Kevin Brown was the one that helped the Marlins beat them last year. So the Braves know that he can beat them, and that's a plus on the Padres side. But all the things you said, maybe that's the glamour World Series that people would be seeking. I guess that I might agree with you on.
Cleveland can win this, and San Diego certainly can win the NLCS. But it's the Braves and the Yankees, I think, that carry the aura.
No, there's no doubt about that. That's probably the World Series that most people would like to see, but unless you live in San Diego and Cleveland, you know. But we're not going to do it anyway.
Does that mean we're not watching it?
Oh, I'm going to watch it. See that, you know, since 1994, the Yankees and the Braves have been the winningest teams in baseball percentage-wise.
2-0 pitch from O.J. to Bernie Williams. Misses 3-0. The two winningest teams previously in Yankee history, their 1927 team that won 110 in a 154-game series, Ruth's Murderers Row team, and the M&M boys of Mantle and Maris in 1961 who won 109 in the first 162-game schedule. Both those teams went all the way and won the World Series. In 27, they swept it from Pittsburgh. In 61, they took it in 5 from Cincinnati. In the air to left, pretty well hit. Justice is on the run, over his head. One bounce against the wall. O'Neill will score. Williams on his way for a double. Back-to-back two-baggers. 7-0 New York. Hargrove may have seen enough. O.J. gave him some good innings here, but he's done.
Well, let's take a look at O.J. This is a changeup away, and Bernie Williams just hits it with his hands and lines it to left center field. Changeup over the outfielder's head. And now it's a 7-0 lead for the Yankees.
32-year-old Jim Poole is the new Cleveland pitcher. This is his second time around with the Indians. He's also been with the Dodgers, the Rangers, the Orioles, and the Giants. You'll recall that he was Cleveland's pitcher in Game 6 in Atlanta in 1995, and his present teammate Dave Justice hit the home run off him that won the World Series for the Braves, the only run in a 1-0 victory for Atlanta in that Game 6.
Pensive Chad O.J. sits there wondering what happened because he was throwing so well, and he may have just run out of gas. I mean, you know, He hasn't pitched that much lately, so he may have just run out of gas. But he threw well, and he gave his team an opportunity to come back. They just wasn't able to do that up to this point.
Vizquel and Williams jockeying with each other a little bit.
Well, he's telling the third base coach, make sure you watch this guy for me. Telling Willie Randolph that. He says, I'm going to watch him, you watch the second baseman.
So Poole is brought in to face Martinez. Inside for ball one. Looking for his first hit. Thought he had it in the second, but Justice made a sliding catch on him to rob him of a hit. Foul ball. Consecutive doubles to start the seventh by O'Neill and Williams have chased OJ and made it 7-0. That is not a happy man.
No, and he may be wondering why he didn't start this game.
Strike three. The Yankees have few concerns, but I guess one of them is that Tino Martinez can't get untracked in the postseason. Now the DH Tim Raines turns around and bats right-handed.
Well, we talked about this in the Texas series. The measure of a good team is that a lot of people in the lineup can contribute and get the job done. It was the lower part of the order against Texas.
Williams at second with one out. Bottom of the seventh, 7-0 New York. They have 10 hits. The Indians have 3. Hit .290 for the year with 5 home runs. 2-0. Joe Torre is going to go with David Cone tomorrow. As we mentioned during the division series, Cone has been much more effective on 5 days rest than on 4. But Torre thought this through and thought it through very well. He threw only 85 pitches, speaking of Cone, in that rain-delayed game. They took him out after 5 2/3, so he threw only 85 pitches in the rain-delayed game last Friday. So while he's working on 4 days rest tomorrow, it's after a stint where he threw uncommonly few pitches. He's always, in anything that approaches a complete game, well up over 100. He throws a lot of pitches in the average game. That's a foul ball. So if he's going to have him go on 4 days rest, he'd rather have him come out of that circumstance. Then if this goes as far as 6 games, Cone would be back home at Yankee Stadium for Game 6 on 5 days rest, which is his ideal situation.
And I mean, I think it's a good move. I actually thought he was going to start him the second game of the Texas series, and they went with Andy Pettitte, and they got a great job from Pettitte. And I think that was a real key for Joe Torre the remainder of the season, simply because he knows that he can depend on Andy Pettitte to be a big game pitcher now. And there was some doubt about that for a while, but he knows that he can depend on him. He knows what he's going to get from David Cone. And the fact that Cone's record here at Yankee Stadium is great, he can go ahead and do it. Is look at Andy Pettitte,
who will be the Game 3 starter at Jacobs Field. Raines skips away, and it's 3-1. This is the likely rotation for the series. Subject to change. Nagy and Cone, then Cologne and Pettit when we get to Cleveland. Gooden scheduled for Game 4, put up in the air against El Duque. Then perhaps they go back to Jarrett Wright in Game 5 against Wells and reprise the other matchups if we get to 6 and 7. Ball 4. There is Bartolo Colon, hard thrower who made the All-Star team and then faltered a bit in the season's second half. Well, we have a right-handed hitter due in Shane Spencer. So the lefty Poole is relieved of his duties. And as he exits, so do we for just a moment. Temperature has fallen some 10 degrees during the course of the game. Low 60s when we started. 51 now. Let's eavesdrop once again on the ongoing conversation between Jose Cardinal and Tim Raines.
Boy, I'm telling you, I wish I can be, you know, when I turn your age, I wish I can be just like you, man. Good eye coordination, the whole thing. Nice going. Had that on TV. Huh? You know they had that on. You're talking about showing you can run 50 years old.
He said, you know they had that on TV. Joe Torre told him that it was on television the last time he was telling him he was 50 years old. But that's great for, you know, a first base coach to keep the guys lively and bring a smile to their face. Makes you want to get down there more often. Jose Cardinal, he was a fine player, outfielder, good hitter, ran the bases well, good player. The new pitcher is Steve Reed, the former Rocky and Giant. Came over from San Francisco in the deal that sent Jose Mesa out west. Was pitching well for Cleveland until he ran into a circulatory problem, experiencing numbness in his pitching hand. That limited him to just 6 September appearances. Ricky Leday now will come on, just added to the roster for the LCS, young outfielder who takes the place of Shane Spencer in this at-bat and of Darryl Strawberry on the postseason roster. So Leday bats for Spencer. Reed's first pitch to him, fouled off. This is how Leday rests his own helmet, number 38, with Darryl Strawberry's helmet atop it. He's been doing that since Darryl went into the hospital, opening a spot on the roster for Ricky. A high fly ball, shallow right center field. Lofton comes in, and Kenny takes it for the second out. Once again, here's the playoff baseball tomorrow. We'll be here at Yankee Stadium, 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Cone against Nagy. And then the night game is on Fox. Game 1 of the Padres and the Braves at 8 o'clock Eastern Time from Turner Field. So Leday flies out as a pinch hitter. And that brings up Posada, who has singled, walked, and homered. Reed sidearms it in there for strike 1. And a lot of people may wonder why they pinch hit Leday for Shane Spencer, who's been hitting so well. Well, part of the reason is Reed is such a tough pitcher on a right-handed hitter, and you do not want the kid to lose his confidence, because right now his confidence is really high, and a guy like Reed can really throw the timing off of a right-handed hitter.
Plus a good chance to get Leday a swing. You're up 7-0. Get his feet wet in postseason play. Two on, two out, and the 1-1 pitch misses. You look at a guy like Steve Reed, who has been very effective at various times in his career. And you realize how underappreciated middle relievers sometimes are. This is a quote from Reed himself. It doesn't make sense to have a $10 million starter and a $5 million closer and then lose the game because you have nobody to get guys out in between the two.
Well, maybe he wants something in between the two.
7.5.
7.5 million. Yeah.
That's a quote either from Reed or from his agent. Three and one to Posada with Brocious on deck. And a long drive to right. Backing up is Ramirez. Doesn't have enough carry. He takes it on the track. Posada falling short with a bid for his second homer of the night. Yankees lead it 7-0.
Xerox invites you to keep the conversation going. Share the knowledge.
And David Wells has been magnificent, starting with the first hitter, Kenny Lofton. He's gotten Lofton twice. Joey Cora, Manny Ramirez, Sexton, Travis Fryman, and Sexton again. One thing to notice out of his 7 strikeouts, 6 have come on fastballs and 1 breaking ball. He has pitched a great ball game.
90 pitches through 7 innings. He threw 8 complete games this year. And probably with a lesser bullpen, could have thrown more. You know, very often with the lead, he's able to go the 9th, but you just give the ball to Mariano Rivera, as was the case when he was working on a shutout in Game 1 of the division series against Texas. They don't need Rivera tonight. It's Nelson and Stanton getting loose in the Yankee bullpen. There's Mariano. Wearing some oven mittens, evidently, in case he has to remove a pie sometime tonight. Alomar, Vizquel, and Lofton to face Wells. As I mentioned earlier, 5 of Wells's 8 complete games this year were shutouts. The starter does not get credit for a shutout unless he goes the distance.
I don't see any reason for him to go the distance tonight, Bob. I mean, you've got a lot of games left, a lot of innings to be pitched.
Fouled off. Plus, Stanton, as I remember, didn't get the pitch in the series against Texas. And when you have a big lead, you begin to think about just giving some people a chance to get into the game. Not so much so they can see their name in the box score, but so that they're ready when it really counts later.
I think they like to see their name in the box score also.
For that, no. The 1-1 pitch. Up high. Catch up with it, 2-2. We mentioned that Ruth was David Wells' idol, as most people are aware. And as you may know, he tried to wear an authentic Babe Ruth cap from the 1930s that he bought at a memorabilia show. He spent some $35 grand on Ruth-related memorabilia, tried to wear it in a game, and they said, no, you can't do that. You can't be wearing this goofy cap out there. You got to put on the 1998 cap. That's out of play.
Well, you're supposed to be in like uniform, meaning that you're supposed to dress the same as your teammates. That's why they call it a uniform, right?
Good point. You start showing up in jeans and a T-shirt, it throws everything off.
Yeah.
The 2-2. A high pop. Posada has room. Now coming up after your late local news, it's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Tonight, Jay's guests are Sharon Stone, Joe Montana, and Ed McMahon. Following your late local news. Ed should have no difficulty finding the studio. Skell's 1 for 2 with a stolen base. A chance for Williams in center field. Bernie tucks it away. Moving up on 100 pitches and working on a 3-hitter with 2 out in the 8th as he faces Lofton, who's had a rough night. He struck out twice and then rolled weakly to first. Wells has faced 27 hitters and thrown 30 balls. Strike 1. And those 2 words, as much as anything else, are the keys to David Wells' success. Strike 1.
I agree with you. He has been magnificent in getting ahead of the hitters and then forcing them to chase pitches out of the strike zone.
Lofton wouldn't bite. Although he hit well over 300, Lofton never got comfortable in the National League with the Braves. And it shows as much as anything on the bases. He only stole 27 a year ago. He doubled that when he got back to the Indians to 54 this year. And he was caught stealing 20 times last year and cut it in half to only 10 caught stealing this year. And his defense improved again when he got back to Jacobs Field. Yes, he did. 2 and 2.
Man, Wells dropped down and threw a sidearm curveball there. I haven't seen him to do this. Drop down and sidearm curveball to a left-hander. And you get funky. Yeah, but you can see Lofton didn't stay there either. He was kind of leaving a little bit.
Get funky when you're up 7-0.
Yeah. Watch this pitch as a fastball away. Now watch Posada. He looks over and he thinks, oh man, he says, don't hit anyone. See, the players are concerned about the fans.
I thought it was going to conk Keith Olbermann. Somewhere in the vicinity of the Cleveland dugout. The 2-2 pitch. Back of second. Jeter out. Williams in. Bernie's got it. And that'll do it. David Wells masterful through 8 with a 7-0 lead. One last view for this evening from the Goodyear blimp. Our thanks to the folks upstairs. Much of the crowd of 57,000 plus has departed. Content that the Yankees have this one wrapped up, leading 7-0 as they bat in the bottom of the 8th against Paul Shuey, who they thought might be their closer earlier this year, but Mike Jackson came on to claim that assignment. And Brocious whacks one right through the middle for a leadoff hit. Entirely new battery. Sandy Alomar Jr. gets the rest of the night off, and Einar Diaz replaces him behind the plate. Brocious at first is now 2 for 4. Sexton's going to play behind him. Knobloch is 1 for 4. Hitless since his first inning single.
Well, the Yankees still need Knobloch to get off out of his slump a little bit. because he does make things happen at the top of the order.
Caught by Fryman, quick throw across, and Brocious scampers back. Now blocked 1 for 5. The Yankees have now outscored their opposition 16-1 through 4 postseason games.
Well, I talked about Andy Pettitte being dependable for Joe Torre, but maybe not. He's the only Yankee hurler to give up a run in this postseason.
That's a disgrace when compared to his compatriots.
David Cone and David Wells have not given up anything.
To Jeter, who's 2 for 4 tonight. He's singled each of his first 2 trips. The Yankees got 5 in the first as they knocked Jarrett Wright out. Single runs in the 6th on a Posada home run, and in the 7th on doubles by O'Neill and Williams. They bat now in the 8th. 1 out, 1 on, 7-0. Jeter draws the walk. An RBI chance for O'Neill. All has a single and a double in 4 trips. If nothing else, Shuey just trying to close this thing out so the Indians can shower, get back to the hotel, and get a good night's sleep before tomorrow's game 2 at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
And the first game of any series is always important, but tomorrow's will be the most important game, I think, of the series for Cleveland.
Low foul, and the sooner they can forget about this one, the better.
Well, because tomorrow, Bob, if Cleveland can win tomorrow's ball game, they're actually back in pretty good shape.
Sure.
You know, the driver's seat, because, you know, they have 3 games in a row in Cleveland, and if you could come here and get a split, which is normally what you try to do on the road on a series like this, 7-game series, try to split the first 2.
The 0-2 pitch. All the way to the screen. That is a major league wild pitch. And the runners move up to 2nd and 3rd. Shuey really uncorked one.
But Diaz is talking to him like he may have crossed him up. He may have been looking for a breaking ball, yeah, because he stays down a long time. He thinks the ball's going to break. And by the time he gets up to it, watch him how long he stays down. He thinks this ball's going to break. And all of a sudden it doesn't break and goes right past him. And then he goes out and talks to Shuey. He lets him know that he was looking breaking ball, and he threw him a fastball. Indians playing the infield in.
And the 1-2 pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes to O'Neill. Now you're Cora and Sexton on the right side of the infield. You say, oh no, we're losing 7-0. Now I got to come in. This guy might hit a bullet right at me and take my head off. Can it get much worse?
Yeah, it could be AstroTurf and it could be wet.
Well, O'Neill cooperates by striking out.
That happened to me once. When I was playing with the Reds, the infield was wet, and they called me in on Dave Parker, and he hit a ball at me. It hit the wet thing. I don't know how I caught it, but it knocked me over. I threw him out, and I went in and I yelled at Sparky. I said, I will never play in like that again, and don't ever put my life in danger like that again. I mean, it can happen on AstroTurf.
And Sparky said?
He just smiled. He knew I was serious. I didn't play in ever again on that wet AstroTurf with a big hitter up there either.
Williams is 2 for 4. Strike 1 from Shuey. Brocious at third, Jeter at second, 2 out, bottom of the 8th. A ball and a strike. Cora, Justice, and Ramirez for Cleveland in the 9th. Counting the playoffs, with a lead after 8 this year, the Yankees are merely 105-1. That's with any kind of lead. This lead is a touchdown plus the point after. 2-1. Two balls and 2 strikes. Full count. Looking at Hargrove, I asked him before the game, how long did it take you to get over the Game 7 loss to the Marlins in the World Series last October? He said, I'll let you know when I'm over it.
World Series losses, especially 7th game losses, stay with you a long time.
And he managed that game so well. There really wasn't much he could have done differently. It just didn't work out. The bases are loaded. Says he still replays the 9th inning in his head from time to time. They took a 2-1 lead into the 9th. They had a chance to build on the lead in the top half of the 9th. And Sandy Alomar was thrown out at the plate by Edgar Renteria on a ball where Sandy might have thought Renteria was going to go for the double play. Instead, he cut him down at the plate, and maybe Sandy didn't get as good a break as he could have from third base. That was an important insurance run they didn't get.
But the key question was, when you ask him, was there anything that he would do differently? And he said no, so there's really nothing you can do. He managed to the best of his ability, and the players played to the best of their ability, and the Marlins came out on top.
Martinez, about the only Yankee who hasn't joined in tonight. He's 0 for 4. As you see, he's hit 6 career grand slams. Hit 28 home runs during the year. Down from 44 in 1997. Diaz and Shuey having some trouble getting in sync. And the fans having some trouble understanding why this is being prolonged. Wells with Stottlemyre. And I guess he hasn't gone back in the clubhouse. He's still sitting there. I guess he works the 9th.
I don't see anyone throwing in the bullpen.
Nelson and Stanton were up and throwing earlier. 1-1. They're all spectators for the moment. Grounded foul. Almost took a piece out of the ball boy. Wicked hop on him.
This is one of those major league bad hops. He tries to get in front of it, hits the wall.
Hello.
Well, he stayed on his feet, though. He did not go down.
Just misses. 2-2.
Now he knows how I felt when Sparky Anderson had me playing tight on that wet infield.
He's telling Joe Torre, I will never position myself here again, no matter what you ask me or tell me to do. Just as you told Sparky. Martinez swings and misses. The ball gets away. Diaz throws to first. And that finishes the inning on what is officially a strikeout. Wells is going to try to complete it. We'll be back. Tonight's Chevrolet Player of the Game is not exactly a controversial choice. It'll be David Wells. Here's a look at his 5 shutouts during the year. The first one was the perfect game against Minnesota. The last one was nearly a perfect game. He retired the first 20 he faced on September 1st against the Oakland A's before Jason Giambi singled to break up that bid for a second perfect game in the same season with 2 out in the 7th inning. First man to face him in the 9th is Cora, strike 1. And Ramirez will follow Cora. Threw it past him, strike 2. Speaking of Wells and the perfect game, as you may know, a real oddity, Wells attended the same high school in San Diego as did Don Larson, Point Loma High School. Larson graduated in 1947, Wells in 82. Larson, the perfect game pitcher from the 56 World Series for the Yanks against the Dodgers. The 0-2 didn't miss by much.
Well, Don Larson had a great curveball. So does David Wells. Don Larson had a good sinking fastball. Wells throws more of a riding fastball.
Here's the 1-2. A line drive for a base hit. Just the 4th of the night off Wells. And the activity begins again in the Yankee bullpen. Same 2, Nelson and Stanton. All 4 hits off Wells have been singles. Justice at the plate now has one of them back in the 7th.
Jose Cardinal moving Ricky Leday over toward the line in left field.
Wells has struck out 7, walked 1, and hit a man. Here's his 1-0 pitch. Bounce foul. Something else Wells has in common with Don Larson. Neither one was always a model citizen. Larson, it is said, was out to the wee hours the night prior to his Game 5 perfect game in the World Series against the Brooklyn Dodgers in '56.
Well, sounds like he was not pitching well. He didn't do things right in all his other performances. That was the way he should pitch. You're a little tired.
Knobloch takes the play at first. Cora moves to second as Justice is retired. So the run that could spoil the shutout is in scoring position with 1 out for Manny Ramirez, who is singled, struck out, and flied out. The shutout is about all the suspense that remains. The Yankees took most of the suspense out of it with 5 in the first. That's generally not insurmountable these days in baseball with all the run scoring going on around the major leagues. But against this Yankee team these days, It's an almost impossible hill to climb. Ball one.
Well, 5 runs is really not that big a deficit in the first inning in this type of season, but look at that. I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, they had the wrong guy on the mound for them to try a comeback. Then again, the entire Yankee starting staff has pitched well when given the opportunity.
Fouled out of play. Unless something unthinkable happens here in the 9th, Wells will win, combining the postseason with the regular season for the 20th time against only 4 defeats. Many years, a record of 18-4 that includes 5 shutouts and a perfect game will get you the Cy Young Award. But the smart money is on Roger Clemens to win a record 5th with the way he closed the season. 2-1 to Ramirez. They dropped the first one to Boston, came back and won 3 in a row. That was a best of 5. They're about to go down 0-1 in this best of 7. Nagy will try and get them even tomorrow against Cone. Well hit left field. If it's fair, it's a home run. And it is a home run for Manny Ramirez. There goes the shutout as it becomes 7-2. And even Wells can't cool Manny Ramirez off, at least not completely.
And this is the difference between Wells in the 9th inning and Wells in the 2nd inning. He could not get the fastball in on Ramirez. That's where you try to pitch him. But he did not have enough left to get the good fastball in on him.
Well, Torrey and Stottlemyre let him try for the shutout. But once that was gone, so was Wells. And those who remain come to their feet in appreciation. New York goes to its bullpen, and we go to a commercial.
David Wells tries to get a fastball in on Manny Ramirez, and his expression will tell you all you need to know.
Luckily, he turned away from the camera just before that one-word exclamation, but this can be plainly seen. Ramirez continues to sizzle. That's his 3rd homer in 5 postseason games. Now remember, we have to make a distinction here. All of Mickey Mantle's home runs came in the World Series when there was just the World Series. Here's Jeff Nelson on in relief. Reggie Jackson had the LCS plus the World Series. The Babe just the series. Same for Berra. Same for Snyder. Garvey had the LCS and World Series. And now Ramirez has 3 rounds potentially with the addition of the wild card round. It's still impressive, but it's not the same thing.
Well, it's not compared to those guys, but still, like you say, very, very impressive.
He had a stretch in September where he hit 8 home runs in 6 games. In 5 games, I think. Elliot Kalb, our stat man's telling me 5. 8 homers in a 5-game stretch. Now he's hit 3 in 5 postseason games. He had 45 for the year. Yeah, it was 8 in 5 games this past September. Three and 1 to Fryman. Sada hoping he has room, which he does. And Nelson is an out away from closing it out.
Good job by Posada to find this ball. A lot of times when the ball goes up, a catcher doesn't know where it is. He finds it immediately. That's why he threw his mask behind him. And he gets back near the screen and makes the catch. I've really been impressed with the way he has handled David Wells in this ball game and the way he's been receiving the balls. He's done a great job tonight.
Thome 0 for 2 and hit by a pitch. Cuts and misses. Jim hit 30 homers for the year. The total would have been higher had he not missed more than a month with a broken hand. Nelson's 1-1 pitch. A strike away. Yankees looking for their 4th straight win of the playoffs. Their 11th consecutive win overall, and most importantly, a 1-0 lead over the Indians in the best-of-7 LCS.
And there's Joe Torre. A lot of people never give him the credit that he deserves for putting this ball club together and keeping them working together as a team.
I think he should be the manager of the year.
I agree with you.
Full count. With all the success they've had, winning the World Series in '96, playoffs last year, historic regular season this year, you have to remind yourself that when he was hired, the New York tabloids featured the headline, "Clueless Joe," questioning Steinbrenner's decision. Down goes Thome, down go the Indians in game 1. Nelson finishes it. Wells is the winner. Denied only the shutout on the Ramirez homer in the 9th. So be sure to join us tomorrow afternoon for Game 2 of the ALCS. Cone for the Yanks, Nagy for the Indians. Tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on NBC. Coming up after your late local news, The Tonight Show, Jay's guests, Sharon Stone, Joe Montana, Ed McMahon. For Joe Morgan, Keith Olbermann, and Jim Gray, I'm Bob Costas. So long from Yankee Stadium.